This is Choco Chip Hips
by Agay and Llanera.
The beauty of hip-hop jam was that all my classmates were strangers. It was bad enough to be dancing in public, but I would just die if I had to show my freakish dance move to somebody I actually knew. I mean, sure, it was a little awkward when I realized that I was the youngest student in class. A handful of college kids, and the rest were made up of mommies and yuppies. Later on, I came to appreciate the fact that everyone was older than I was because it meant there was less chance of my bumping into anyone from school. So when I saw Dave's mom, my first reaction was to sprint the hell out of there, but I was afraid that since she was only 2 rows away from me, any sudden movement from my end would call attention. So I stayed rooted to my spot, agonizing over what I should do. And that's when it hit me. She didn't know me. It wasn't like Dave and I were friends that hung out at his house. I heaved a sigh of relief because the truth was I didn't want to ditch class. When I finally gathered my wits, I realized that everyone was doing warm-ups and I was the only one standing as still as a pole. So I moved. If dancing was a skill, so was not feeling self-conscious. I was getting good at tuning out my insecurities while I danced and losing myself in learning the steps. The sweat started dripping, the feel-good brain chemicals kicked in, convincing me that I was doing the right thing, dancing like I really meant it. The effect was equivalent to having eaten a candy bar, but 10 times better because dancing was healthier. Dave's mom had the practiced smile of a performer. The whole time, she gave us a sweeping look, and I relaxed because it meant that she really didn't recognize me. When we reached the part where we had to put together all the steps, the adrenaline was humming in my ears. I was all set to prove to myself what I was capable of achieving. I looked at my reflection, feeling superhuman. Drenched hair, cheeks flushed, my heart thumping a wild rhythm. I could do this. And I did. Sure, I fumbled around in some parts, but the point was I danced with the whole class without feeling like I had 2 left feet. It felt really good to let myself go. But when the class was over, the spell broke. I was Jessie again, and my paranoia returned. Just in case Dave's mom remembered me, I slipped out of the studio as fast as I could. I didn't even bother lining up to the restroom to change my shirt. And as soon as I exited the door, I ran smack into something warm and solid. I jerked back and found myself staring at a white shirt.
Hey, I didn't expect to bump into you.
I looked up, instantly caught by melty brown eyes.
I mean to literally bump into you.
Slowly, painfully, I broke away from the pull of those smiling eyes. Big mistake. Because now I was ogling the bigger picture of Dave's gorgeous, heart-stopping face. No words came. I was officially an idiot.
Did you see my mom? She taught your class today.
Everything around us, which froze just a moment ago when I gazed into his eyes, suddenly resumed movement. People milled past. The gym's piping music floated from the speakers. The dance studio door swung open, coughing out my classmates. The horror of what David just said crashed into me like a charging bull. He knew I was taking up hip-hop jam. But Dave was oblivious as I staggered back, nearly having a heart attack. He was on a roll, chatting to me like I was his friend.
So mom asked you to teach her some moves last night. It was so funny because she doesn't know how to dance hip-hop. She looked like a rubber chicken when she did it first time. Her movements are too soft.
Dave's covering his eyes while chuckling was the cutest sight in the world. He looked like a little boy who just pulled a prank. I clamped my fascinated mouth shut when he looked at me eagerly.
So, how was it? Did she mess up big time?
Talking behind my back, David. An austere voice behind us made us both turn. Right there was his mom, hands on hips, and she had the same pair of warm brown eyes, and hers were dancing. Dave grinned.
Yeah, just telling Jessie how you're such a quick learner.
He cut a knowing glance to me.
I'm sure you did great in your class.
His mom smirked. Sure. She then looked at me, her smile widening. I didn't know you knew my charming son. You look really good back there, really smooth dancing. I gaped at her, processing the implications of her words. 1, she noticed me in class. 2, she thought I was a good dancer. And most importantly, 3, she said these flattering words in front of Dave. The heat crept up my neck all the way to the roots of my frizzy hair in equal parts pleasure and embarrassment.
Mom, she's Jessie. Remember my playground friend in kinder?
Dave's mom fixed her eyes on me, perplexed. Oh no. She could not possibly remember me. Kindergarten was light years ago. Besides, there was an awkward incident back then when I peed in my pants. Please do not remember me, I prayed. Of course! She snapped her fingers and I panicked, almost peeing in my leggings. The girl with springy curls. Ah, you look like a cute little doll, she commented, gushing. In fact, she gave Dave a fleeting, mischievous look. I seem to remember Dave confessing to me that he had a crush on you. The world had just ended. The heavens parted and the angels descended, strumming their sweet music on gleaming golden harps. The teenage girls of the world stood below. Those who Dave had a crush on were delegated to the right, while the rest stood to the left. I took my place on the right while my heart sang the words of the angels' hymn. Dave had a crush on me. Dave had a crush on me.
Jeez, Mom.
Dave rolled his beautiful brown eyes.
That was so long ago.
The angelic voices stopped. My heart grew heavy, snapping free from the reins that held it up and then falling to the floor with a dull thud. Reality check. I was probably cute 12 years ago, but now I was just an entirely different being who was attractive as masking tape. Oh, sorry. Dave's mom proceeded to tap her long, tapered fingernails on her chin. Not much that La girl, right? The one who's constantly texting you?
Mom!
My heart shattered into a bigger shards. So where are you off to, Jessie? Dave's mom was looking at me, smiling quizzically, blissfully unaware of the havoc she just wreaked in my soul. I'll just be walking home, ma'am. Call me Tita Malou. Can we drop you off?
Let's.
Dave's face shone.
Mom, they make those delicious cakes you buy at the clubhouse.
Her eyes widened. Those are yours? She pulled me, inserted her hand through the crook of my arm, and I flinched as sweaty skin made contact with hers. But Dave's mom didn't seem revolted. In fact, her arm was sweaty too, and this is one of the things I liked about gym. Sweat was a given. It was celebrated. Then we must go. Now. Like a noble woman and her closest confidant, we went out of the gym, the sweaty arm in sweaty arm. Choco Chip Hips
By Agay, Llanera.